Well, unfortunately, I got to open this edition with some more bad news. News you probably already heard because, I pre-taped this stuff. That Loretta Swit of MASH fame had passed away last week. I guess it was on Friday. I think she was 87. Legendary TV show, legendary performer. I know she had been doing the Chiller Convention a lot, and people spoke very highly of her, but down there that she was very good with the fans and very appreciative and all that. So, another legend leaves the building, so to speak. So, rest in peace, Loretta Swift. And how many of you guys, my age or maybe a few years younger, remember Channel 9's $1 Million Movie? Well, they used to run the same movie every night around 8 o'clock, 7 days straight, I think twice on weekends and stuff. There was very little programming back then. But, we weren't watched. And I always say, I think I've done a couple articles on nobody was watching what we were watching, which is true, because some of these films were definitely not meant for kids, especially war movies, and especially a movie called Attack from 1956, directed by Robert Aldrich and starring Jack Palance, Eddie Albert, Lee Marvin, Buddy Ebsen, Richard Jekyll, and Robert Strauss. And it opens up with another legendary actor, Strother Martin, being pinned down under fire, and he don't even make it past the credits because Jack Palance is Joe Costa, Lieutenant Costa, calling in Captain Cooney, played by Eddie Albert, to counterattack and save them, but Cooney is an abject coward and doesn't do shit. And that sets the stage for the confrontation between Cooney and Costa. Cooney is sort of, I don't know what the word be, mentored by Lee Marvin's character, who is friends with his father, the judge, and the judge wants a son that's a soldier and shit like that. So Marvin's character sort of covers up a lot of shit that Cooney does. And there's this whole thing where basically they think they're going to be pulled back, but the Germans broke through. So they have to secure this farmhouse, and they're sort of trapped in this farmhouse. And Costa's out, and there's tanks and all kinds of other shit. And all the guys, Richard Jekyll, Buddy Ebsen, another guy I can't remember, and Robert Strauss are trapped in a basement. Strauss has a broken leg, and his character is Private Bernstein. So, and the SS are around, they capture a couple of them, but this really gets fucking grim. Costa is taking on tanks by himself with a bazooka and gets trapped, and his arm gets run over by the tank. And we just see him pinned with his arm stuck under the tank. And then Cooney shows up into the farmhouse, scared shitless, half drunk out of his fucking mind, and basically doesn't want the guys, we should surrender, and they say, well, you can't surrender, it's SS, Bernstein, they'll kill him. And he holds a gun on the rest of the troops. Except all of a sudden, Costa comes staggering into the farmhouse, down the stairs to the basement. His fucking arm is like gone, there is blood all over the place, and he's going to kill Cooney. And he passes out, and he's praying to God, please give me the strength to kill this guy, and drops his gun. And sadistically, Cooney keeps pushing the pistol out of his reach until he dies. Now Cooney is down and determined to go up and fucking surrender, and one of the other, I think it's a lieutenant that was down there, shoots him, dead. And they're all looking at him, and he goes, well, I'm going to go down for this. And then Buddy Ebsen walks over and puts a bullet in him. Richard Jekyll puts a bullet in him. Strauss puts a bullet in him. So they basically, the story is he got to the top of the stairs and was gunned down. Lee Marvin isn't buying it because of the bullets, and basically he tells this lieutenant that, you can go down for this, and then the lieutenant accuses him of enabling Cooney to do all this cowardly shit and stuff. So there's a stalemate. So Lee Marvin basically leaves it as, well, something, you'll be okay as long as you keep your mouth shut. Well, it ends with the lieutenant picking up the phone and not keeping his mouth shut, and we fade out. This was really early Robert Aldrich stuff, and Richard Jekyll was in this one, and he also worked for him at least two more times in Four for Texas and The Dirty Dozen. Robert Strauss was a character actor, and weirdly enough, I just watched Attack back to back with Stalag 17 with Strauss was also in it, playing a similar character, a big, burly guy, alongside of William Holden, Neville Brand, Peter Graves, bunch of people in there, and that was pretty good. Jack Palance, well, Jack completely overacts in his death scene. He's carried out on a fucking stretcher with his mouth open like this. And I think there was another movie in where he died and he did the same thing. He was laying on the floor like that. Jack was one of those guys that psyched himself and got into character, and there was interesting stories floating around. He was down in Mexico shooting something, and a Mexican general wanted to meet the great actor. And Emilio Fernandez was involved, as was Robert Mitchum. They were doing something down there. And when the general showed up, Jack was so drunk that he puked all over the general's shoes, and they had to hustle him out of there because the general was really pissed off and wanted him arrested. And also in the book, which is Mitchum's biography, it's called Baby, I Don't Care, there was a thing where it was going to be a fight scene between Jack and Mitchum. And Mitchum was warned that Jack was sort of psyching himself up off camera for a real fight. And I guess there was a fight on a trolley car or something going up a mountain or something. I can't remember the name of the film. But it was like all of a sudden this fight started and, Jack got wound up and Mitchum just punched him in the gut and Jack puked all over his shoulder. So there was another story that this is not even known out. Bill Greffy had told me this during a phone conversation. That there was a proposed TV series that was going to involve Jack Palance and Jackie Gleason. And Bill Greffy was the go-in-between because they went down, Jack flew down to Florida, Jackie picked him up, they went out drinking, and that was the end of that. The series was never made. I don't know what happened between the two, but Bill just told me this thing because he was the one who had to arrange for Jack to come in and have Jackie pick him up. So, strange stuff. Jack was a really good actor, a really good character actor, and really overacted at times. Happily, he did get an Academy Award after the fact. It's strange that, like, him and Martin Landau started in a series of low-budget horror things, Without Warning, Alone in the Dark, and they thought they were, like, on the downhill slide, but they rebounded back. Jack with City Slickers, and Martin with Ed Wood. So it was all good. And those two guys were great actors. So that's our show for today. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for tuning in. Above all, stay safe, and we'll catch you on the flip side.